And why make him wait around? He's on the line right now. I want to thank and welcome Mark Bavaro, former Giants tight end, to the program right now. Mark, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And, I hope that you had a happy and healthy holiday and New Year for you and your family.
Yeah, we've been enjoying it. Yeah.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And, so with everything going on, I'm sure that you've had a lot to occupy your time with over the last few months and everything, over the last year even. But have you been keeping up with the Giants this year?
I really haven't been watching them that closely. I heard today was an important game, so I kind of checked out the end of it. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was.
I guess we're all waiting for the Washington game.
Absolutely. You got on Sunday Night Football tonight, we got the Philadelphia Eagles and Washington football team going at it. And if the Eagles can pull out a win here, the Giants will actually, believe it or not, after starting the season 1-7, be the division champions. So that's quite a far cry from the excellence of your '80s Giants teams. But hey, making the playoffs is pretty good either way, right?
It doesn't matter how you get in; you just need to get in.
Exactly. And hey, being a division champion, the Giants would host a playoff game. So, I don't know. How do you feel about the age that we're in right now, where there are no crowds in the stands and everything? And while it still is nice to have a home playoff game, and you have your routines down and everything along those lines, how crazy would it have been for you to play a playoff game, especially with no crowd?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. I don't know that, once the game starts, whether it really matters all that much. It would be an advantage for the visiting team because obviously the crowd noise wouldn't be a factor. And maybe you can answer this question for me. I hear the fan noise on the TV when I watch it, but is that on the TV solely, or is that in the stadium as well?
It's actually in the stadium, believe it or not. It's kind of crazy.
Okay.
For a lot of them, I know in baseball this year, I'm not exactly sure how football did it, but I know baseball, they used actually the ambient crowd noise from the video games and just kind of mixed that into the games these days. I think the NFL did something along those lines, but the players on the field are definitely hearing that noise too.
So I wonder if it's ever crowd noise is ever a factor as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, and I could definitely see it even being distracting at times too, especially when you know that there's no crowd out there. And I've heard a couple of these games this year that crowd noise has been pretty loud.
Really?
Yeah. So it's almost a little distracting. So maybe it's even a little, another little obstacle that they have to come over. But especially with everything these players have gone through, and they've done a great job with keeping the COVID protocols and everything, and you really haven't, we've seen some positive tests and maybe a minor outbreak here and there, but for the most part, I think the NFL has done a really good job navigating their way through these kind of uncharted waters.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people didn't think there was going to be a season at all, so I'd say that this is a victory for them.
Absolutely, and so that's just a really nice start off for the Giants. Kickoff 21 the right way if they could get a win for Philly tonight and get a spot in that playoffs, just like your old Giant teams. They had the big 23-19 win today against Dallas. Now, what do you think about this new coach? I know you said you haven't been keeping up on them much, but is there anything that you've seen from Joe Judge, their new head coach, that leads you to believe that this guy could be the big answer they've been looking for?
I really haven't watched him enough. I don't really know anything about him. I do know, just by watching the little that I watched today, if after a weird up and down season like they've had this year, if they could go out and perform like they did today, even though they almost blew it at the end, just for them to keep the focus and intensity and the desire to win after such a season, he must be doing a pretty good job as a leader and as a coach and as a motivator.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, he learned from the best. He's from the Belichick coaching tree, and, I think it's pretty much undoubted at this point that Belichick is, top 3 or 4, probably for most people, even the number 1 coach of all time. And, he was your defensive coordinator for a lot of those Giants teams. for all of them, I guess, actually. And he was also your head coach in Cleveland. So, when you were coming up and you saw Belichick from afar as the defensive coordinator on your own team, and then you played underneath him, did you see an inkling of any of this brilliance from that we've seen from him from a coaching standpoint? That, I mean, he really didn't come into the early 2000s.
Yes, from a defensive standpoint, yes, he was. The genius was always apparent, on the Giant teams. Now, when I played for him in Cleveland as the head coach, I didn't quite see the brilliance that was to be in the head coaching arena, but I knew it was there. I just knew it was a matter of him getting the experience and it coming out. And he actually did do a good job at Cleveland.
Yeah, he definitely did. I mean, he got a couple of those Browns teams to the playoffs. And
he always gets a bad rap at Cleveland, but he did a pretty good job there.
Absolutely,
right.
He
got some real good teams.
Yeah, and people talk about talk about his stint there like it was a bad one, but no, I completely agree. It was his first time as an NFL head coach, so he was kind of figuring himself out along the way too. And
it was just a matter of time before people understood him as a coach and as a person. And all he had to do was get a little success under his belt for them people to believe in him and to follow the program. And that didn't take too long once he got a shot at the Patriots. And
yes, absolutely.
The rest is history.
And he did some wonders for your teams defensively in the 80s. The one that comes to my mind actually is the three-peat game where the Giants defense that day, where you guys went out and beat the Niners on 5 field goals, and the offense, you guys gutted it out and you got down there in the red zone all those times. You weren't able to convert on touchdowns, but you went out there and kicked 5 field goals. The defense held them down, and that was the name of the game. That year, that 90 team, really personified by that gritty defense, especially at the end.
Yeah, there's no question the Giants were always a defensive team back then, and especially in 1990, we really weren't much of an offensive team. We were a good ball control team, but we weren't much of a point scoring team. And without the defense that we had, which was, I put up there with the best defensive teams of all time, along with the '86 Super Bowl defense. They just did a spectacular job, and of course, the person behind that was Bill Belichick.
Absolutely, and to even drive your point home more, with the offense holding the ball. I mean, you guys held in the Super Bowl there against Buffalo. I think you held the ball for over 40 minutes in that game.
Yeah, it was 40 minutes and some seconds. I don't know what it was, but it's great to hold the ball for a long time. It does help in a game, but I think if you ask any coach, what would they rather have? I think they'd rather have points, than time of possession. Points seem to matter a little bit more. But when you have a defense like we did, that it really was a great combination.
Absolutely, so many household names on that defense, and LT, Carl Banks, so many guys out there that you could just point to that really led that smash mouth defense, and you were a lot of the attitude on those teams too. You were such a great tight end. Like I said earlier when I was bringing you on, first 2-time All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl. That doesn't happen by accident. And you went to Notre Dame too. So have you been keeping up with Notre Dame at all recently?
I like the Giants. I only tuned in late. When I heard about them being in the playoffs, and I thought, I wasn't expecting much with them against Alabama. And granted, they didn't really give you much. It was never really a game. But I was really surprised and proud of the effort that they gave. I thought they fought, every play. They never gave up. There was never a point in the game where they were out of it. And it would have been nice if they had scored at the end. It would have made the game look a little bit better on paper. But I was really proud of their effort. I was proud to say that they were my alma mater.
Yeah, I agree. I've been an Irish fan my whole life, and really they've been highlighting their inability to win the big game in the BCS since like the late 90s. I think they said since 1998. the Irish are 0-7 in these big time BCS games. But I agree with you. I like the way that they fought to the end. I think Ian Book really proved himself to be one of the better quarterbacks the Irish have had. He's got the all-time mark now for wins. I think he's got 30 wins as a starter there now.
And more importantly for me, they seem to have an up-and-coming star in number 87. As a tight end, I was in awe of his performance. The kid's a freshman.
Very true.
I don't even know his name, but he looked like a seasoned pro out there, and he looks like he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for a few years to come.
Very true. And, dating back to you, Notre Dame has really been a great spot for tight ends. I mean, they even still have Kyle Rudolph, who's still in the league right now, and he was going back to the Brady Quinn days in the mid-2000s. Yeah. So, Kyle Rudolph, the Irish really are going to, especially once this kid gets in the league, are really going to have a nice legacy of tight ends. In the NFL.
They do, like you said, they have a great legacy right now, and this kid's only going to add to it because he looks like he's going to be a fantastic pro too.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And so just checking in with Notre Dame there because I totally agree, and I always associate you with Notre Dame more. I don't know why. I'm a Jets fan more than a Giants fan, but I always like the going back and seeing the former Fighting Irish and looking back at guys like that and Timmy Brown from the championship years and Joe Montana from the late 70s. So you were definitely one of the probably the best Irish tight end of all time.
Well, we had a few great ones. Ken McAfee, mm-hmm. was a 4-time All-American. I mean, how's that for an accomplishment?
Very true. Very true.
Dave Casper was there. You had some really, really good tight ends. And then after me, there was a slew of them. You just name them. Every year there was a stud coming out. It was pretty good.
No doubt about it, especially in those late 80s, early 90s years. It seemed like there was a great one being churned out every year.
Yeah.
And so I actually was listening to an interview with you recently, where I believe you're speaking with Mike Francesa, where you said that you think that if they had a matchup, that the 1990 Giants team would beat the 1986 Giants team. Now, I would feel like a lot of Giants fans or football fans in general would always lean towards the 86 team because that one always seems to get more of the accolades. What do you feel about that 1990 team that would have them, even though maybe in a certain couple of categories they're not as good as the 86 team, but they had that guttiness to get a victory against them?
Yeah, now, if I said that, which I don't really remember saying it, but I believe it. I wasn't wholeheartedly in agreement with that statement.
Okay.
I do think that I do think the 90 team could be the 86 team. Yeah, definitely, and vice versa too. It's hard to see. How can you really?
Yeah, it's always, especially when there's so many.
You get you get the same coaches too,
exactly.
the same players.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's kind of a dumb thing to say, but the 90 team was. I think the point I was trying to get across was that 90 team was no slouch compared to the 86 team. We were good in ways that the 86 team wasn't. Like ball control for one thing, and I think we had a better defensive scheme in 90 than in 86. But what do I know? Our coaches were a little more seasoned. Our players were a little more seasoned. They were older and a little banged up, but I think they knew how to play the game better maybe in 90. And our offensive line was humongous in 90.
Oh yeah, especially
as opposed to 86. We were very athletic.
Mm-hmm.
I think that offensive line would just have, we would have dominated the line of scrimmage, and who knows what happens there.
Yeah.
And Jeff Hostetler compared to Sims, that's a debate.
Mm-hmm.
you can talk for hours on that one.
Very true.
So who knows? If I said 90 would be 86, I stand by it. They could, but 86 could also be 90 under the right circumstances. It would depend on the day. Let's put it that way.
Very true, very true. And it's always just fun to think about things like that, because there's so many situations that fans like to debate. It's kind of like one of those barroom topics and stuff like that. So it's something that we're never going to actually get to see, it's fun to think about. And you were coming in at such a great time in the mid '80s there for the Giants. It was right after Parcells really was starting to get established. They just made the playoffs. Now, what do you remember about coming into that young team that was just starting to learn with a coach that was just starting to learn to win as well?
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge of the Giants, coming out of college. One of my best friends from college, when I got drafted, he was like, wow, he goes, Mark, this team is perfect for you. This is going to be the best place you could have gone. And I was like, why? He goes, because they're up and coming, they're hungry, their defense is unbelievable, and they got this great coach named Bill Parcells. And I was like, who? And so he had to fill me in on it. And I really, I didn't even do enough homework to realize that they were coming out of one of their longest droughts ever. I didn't realize how bad they were in the 70s. I just kind of knew that they were a good football team because I'm from New England. So up in New England when I was growing up, the Giants were a favorite team amongst a lot of the people here.
Oh, yeah.
So I always just had this vision in my head that the Giants were really a good team. I had no idea that they had suffered so badly during the 70s and early 80s. So when we won in 86, and you just saw the outpouring of emotions from Giant fans, I was taken aback, and then I had to kind of do a little homework and realize why they were so emotional. And then only then did I really appreciate what we had accomplished as a team, in New York. And I was so happy, not only for myself to win it, but then I became so very happy for the fans of the area because I didn't realize how long suffering they'd been.
Yeah, people still talk so, positively and reflect nothing but good feelings about, especially that first championship. Just like you were saying, the '86 title, where you really brought the Giants back to relevance. Like you said, they'd been in the woods for so long. The early '60s, the NFL championship game against the Chicago Bears really was the last time that they had really tasted any kind of championship. And then, over 20 years later, you guys really took the entire city by storm, and it's really still great just to hear people talk about that